Good afternoon, everyone. If I could have your attention. Welcome. My name is Dr. Lisa Aguilera Lawrenson, and I have the pleasure of serving as the Superintendent President here at San Joaquin Delta College. And I am so happy to have you joining us today for this incredible opportunity and the amazing guest that we have here today with Dolores Huerta. So I'm just so excited to hear what she has to say. And I'm so happy to see all of you here today. I do want to take a moment to recognize some members of our Board of Trustees who are here. So we have Shelley Swanson. And we have Trustee Catherine Mathis. And Trustee Dan Wright. And I know that the board president, Janet Rivera, is backstage right now, but you will see her shortly. So she's here as well. So I'll keep my comments brief. I just want to say that for me, it's an incredible honor to have Dolores here today. As some of you know, my great-grandmother marched with the farm workers in Sacramento back in 1965, and she was one of the founders of the Mexican church, the Guadalupe Church in Sacramento. And so it's just such an amazing journey for me to be here as president, thinking about the many members of my family who were farm workers, who were activists, being here as president of the college, introducing Dolores Huerta. That's quite a head trip is what I will say. So it's such an honor. I'm happy to have you here today. And before we begin, we're going to have our land acknowledgement with Nia Gregory. So if Nia could come out, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Osio Genali, Osio Negada. Dagwadoa Nia Gregory, Uhalesi. Aya Jilagi, Aya Yuchi, Tohiju, Aya Anesahone, Alisi, Lori Nelsi Ross, Agalusi Kali Ross. Hello, everybody. Hello, friends. My name is Nia Gregory. I am Cherokee and Yuchi, and I am from the Blue Clan. I asked you how you are today, but we don't have a real phrase for that. So we say, are you balanced? So can I get a yes? Are you balanced? There we go. Beautiful, beautiful. I want to welcome you all here today and give you a land acknowledgement. A land acknowledgement is about all of us acknowledging where we are and how we benefit from where we get to be. And for me, my grandfather, my father, my grandmothers, they've taught me where I am every step I take, whose land I'm on, how I should appreciate them. So while I'm here, I am on Miwok and Northern Valley Yokat land. And I take that responsibility. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. So while I am a Cherokee and Yuchi woman who has been removed from the east to the southeast to Oklahoma to California, I honor the people who are still here today and the relationships that I make sure to maintain with them. And so that is how I wish to honor this land, and I hope that you will as well. Oh, right. We actually don't clap in our community. We say a ho. Can I get a ho? Hey. All right. And I just would like to kind of give us a little blessing. So Creator, the one above, thank you for gathering us here today on this land, on Miwok land, on Yokat's land, to allow us to have this beautiful day. And hopefully we will take away benefit and be inspired. Aho.
Okay, and without further ado, I'd like to introduce Daniel Fernandez, professor, counselor, and co-coordinator for the Puente project. So, Daniel.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. My name is Daniel Fernandez, and I'm a counselor and co-coordinator of the Puente program at San Joaquin Delta College. On behalf of Puente and the Chicanx Latine Faculty, I want to thank you for joining us as we celebrate Latine Heritage Month. with this very special program, Voices of Change. Dolores Huerta speaks to the next generation. This conversation is especially meaningful for our students who represent the next generation of leaders and community advocates. We are living in unprecedented times where each day seems to bring new challenges that test our ability to lead with courage, compassion, and commitment to justice. My hope is that today's program will not only inspire you, but also remind us of the power we all hold to create positive change. We are fortunate to have two amazing women guiding today's conversation. First, Dr. Sarah Seekatz, professor of history here at Delta College. Dr. Seekatz is a fierce advocate for equity and social justice. And Dr. Seekatz has been a very important part of the Puente program, teaching our Mexican-American history course. Second, Trustee Janet Rivera. Trustee Rivera is the second longest tenured Latina trustee in the state of California. Yes. Yes. I lost it. And she is a longtime Puente mentor of 25 years whose advocacy and commitment to education and equity has inspired countless students and families in our community. And now it's my honor to introduce our keynote speaker, Dolores Huerta. A proud Stockton native and Delta College alumna, Dolores is one of the most influential labor leaders and civil rights activists of our time. She co-founded the United Farm Workers Union alongside Cesar Chavez and Larry Itlong, giving voice and power to farm workers across the nation. Beyond the labor movement, she has dedicated her life to advancing civil rights, women's rights, immigrants' rights, LGBTQIA+ rights, and educational equity, always reminding us that lasting change comes from collective action. In recognition of her lifelong commitment to justice, in 2012, President Barack Obama awarded Dolores with the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the nation's highest civilian honor. Yes. Her powerful words, "Si se puede," have become a rallying cry for generations and continue to inspire movements for social justice today. Please join me in giving a warm Delta College welcome to the legendary Dolores Huerta. ¡Que viva Dolores Huerta!
Thank you.
Thank you.
The crowd's clearly really excited to see you back home in Stockton. Thank you for being here with us today. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank all of you for being here today, for giving us the most precious thing that you have is your time, and you're spending it with us today. So thank you very much for that. Gracias. Gracias.
Professor Fernandez gave a really great introduction, and one of the things he did mention is that you're here from Stockton. So we wanted just to get started by talking about your experience here at Stockton College before it became Delta College. What was it like going to Stockton College or growing up in Stockton, and what ways has Stockton changed?
Well, when I came to college here, there were only, I would say, about a dozen of us Latinos, here at the college. And some of the people that came here they even changed their names, okay? Instead of Martinez, they became Martin. Instead of Estrella, they became Star, because they didn't want to be identified with their Latino last names, okay? That was kind of unfortunate at that time that happened, but that was when people were dealing, as we know, with a lot of racism, and that was pretty much in the high school, especially at Stockton High School. There was a lot of racism in the high school, and the dean of girls of Stockton High was eventually fired because of the her racist tactics that she had against, especially the young women of color.
Wow. Well, we also wanted to talk kind of about your first experiences in activism and what motivated you, and what advice do you have for the young activists out in the audience today?
Well, I was very active. I was a Girl Scout, as you know, for 10 years. And in Girl Scouts, we do a lot of service work, a lot of public work that we do. But I didn't really know what real activism meant until I got involved in the Community Service Organization, which is an organization that we started here in Stockton. And one of the first things that we did was go out there and register people to vote. That was the first action that we took. And that is really important because I believe that is what is missing now. A lot of our younger people, they don't think that voting is important. And this is kind of sad because we don't teach civics in our schools anymore. That was taken up by one of our Republican presidents. I think it was either Bush, I believe, or Reagan, that took up civics. But this is important because I just like to say to the audience right now, if I were to ask all of you, and I would like to see you raise your hands, how many of you who know who your state senator is here in this area? Raise your hands. All right. Well, we have a few people that know, okay? But that's something that all of us need to know because we have to register to vote, and we have to vote because the people that we elect are the ones that make the laws that govern us, the laws that we live by. Like right now, we know that our current Congress has voted $45 billion to give to ICE for all of the raids that they're doing, the kidnappings and the detention centers. But it is our Congress people that we elected to Congress, they're the ones that make those decisions. And so this is why it's really important that we know not only who our senators are, our people in the state assembly, our Congress people, the people that are on our school boards, because our school boards also, they decide what the curriculums are that are going to be taught in our schools. And we know that one of the things that we need to have taught is our own culture, because if we don't have our own culture taught in our school, then our young people, they have no way to be able to fend off the racism that they've suffered growing up.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you. You just spoke about the CSO. It was a big part of the social justice movement, especially in Stockton. Can you tell us when you got involved with that? I do know that there was a banking system within that as well.
Well, the first meeting I went to was a meeting. There was one of my college professors, actually, a woman named Marie DeCarly. And I went to this house meeting, and there was a man there named Fred Ross Sr. And I hope someday they just did a documentary about him called The American Agitator. And in that meeting, he showed me what they were doing in Los Angeles, California, where they had just elected the first Latino to the city council, a man named Ed Roybal, who then became the first Latino to the U.S. Congress of the United States of America. And then he showed us press clippings about how they had brought in sidewalks and clinics into East Los Angeles. But the one that hooked me, he had a press clipping that showed that they had sent 14 police to prison for beating up Mexican-American youth, okay? I thought anybody that can send police to prison for beating up Mexican-American youth, I want to belong to that organization, okay? I got hurt. And Fred Ross, he's the one that taught both Cesar and I how to organize in people's house by having house meetings with people, by talking to them directly, by convincing them that they had power. That even if you didn't have a high school education, Caesar only went to the 8th grade. Even if you were not a U.S. citizen, even if you didn't have any kind of, like I said before, in a formal education, that you still had power, that you could still do things to change the conditions in your community.
So, thank you. Do you want the next bit of beans right here? Oh,
I can ask this one.
yeah, sure.
We want to know what drew you to the plight of farm workers, and if you could tell us what it was like to co-found one of the most well-known labor unions for farm workers' rights, and maybe what lessons from either the CSO or the UFW do you think are relevant to today's young activists who are in the audience?
Well, because of those lessons that Fred Ross taught us, so we were hoping that the Community Service Organization, which was a statewide group, and we passed a lot of really great laws in CSO. We passed a law that you did not have to have a deputy registrar to register people to vote. We passed a law that you could have the voting ballots in Spanish. That was our law, okay? We passed a law that if you were not a U.S. citizen, but you had your green card, that you could get public assistance to the blind, to the aged, to the disabled, aid to needy children. We passed that law also. And these are the laws that we passed before we even started the United Farm Workers. But using those lessons that we learned in the United Farm Workers about having house meetings, and so we started meetings in the homes of farm workers, here in San Joaquin County and all through the valley, until we got enough farm workers together to be able to start the union.
And what originally drew you to the plight of the farm workers?
Pardon me?
What drew you to the plight of the farm workers?
Well, the condition of the farm workers was pretty awful at that point in time. They were only earning about 50 to 60 cents an hour. They didn't have any bathrooms in the field at all, no drinking water. They didn't have any rest periods. They didn't have the right to have a union. They didn't have an employment insurance, any of the basic human rights. And can you imagine what that was like for the women out there? That they didn't have a bathroom out there, even though you're out there all day long from sun up to sundown, 20 miles from the nearest gas station. But the way that the workers were treated, they were not respected. They were harassed. They were spoken down to. And anything that they did, they could get fired. They didn't have any protection on the job at all.
Yeah. All right. In addition to fighting for farm workers, we know that your commitment to social justice includes a commitment to feminism. So we wanted to ask what experiences in your life pushed you towards embracing feminism?
Well, I saw the discriminations like many of us, and I never knew what we could do to change that. Even in here in the high schools, I mentioned before, a lot of discrimination. We would be coming home from a basketball game or a football game, and the police would stop us, or they would harass us. And they only did it to us, the kids of color. They didn't do it to all the Anglo kids, just to us. So you always had that feeling of that you wanted to change things, but you didn't know how to do it. So that's why when I learned that you could do this by organizing. And by the way, one of the things that I did with the CSO, but later on helped us a lot with the United Farm Workers, was I was able to organize Larry Leong, who became one of our Filipino leaders in the United Farm Workers. So he joined CSO, and then we started an organization called AWA, Agricultural Workers Association, which later on became AWOC. So I left AWOC because then Seth and I started our own union, and Larry stayed behind with AWOC.
Were there any particular experiences that drew you into the feminist movement as well?
Well, my mother was a feminist because she was a businesswoman, and she all believed, she divorced my dad because he was abusive, but she always believed that number one, as a woman, you have to have your own bank account, okay? Always have your own money. And she always encouraged me to speak up, even if sometimes when you speak up, people might criticize you. She always said, don't be afraid to speak up, especially when you're advocating for other people. And so she gave me some really, really good instruction. But what I didn't know, and I'm going to say this to all the audience because I know there's people in here that probably were like I was. Well, I have 11 children because, I was a good Catholic, and I say was, okay? And of course, in the Catholic Church, we were told that birth control is a sin, to use birth control. And so I didn't use birth control. So I had 11 kids. I love all my children. They're wonderful. You know, they followed in my footsteps. They all work for social justice. But the idea of women's right to an abortion, that was an issue that I had a hard time dealing with, you know. But then I met these great feminists like Gloria Steinem and Eleanor Smil with the Feminist Majority Foundation. And I learned that, and by the way, one of the great teachers of the church, Sir Thomas Aquinas, St. Thomas Aquinas, said that a fetus is not a child until it's born. It doesn't have a soul until it's born. So then I was able to deal with that. And then realizing that, number one, if a woman needs or decides to have an abortion, that is her business, okay? It's nobody's business but it all. And women are the ones and the only ones that should decide what to do with their own bodies, okay? Nobody else, nobody else. And I know that that is an issue that many in our community that were raised good Catholics like myself, you know, that we have a problem with that. But we have to transition that and think in terms of science. And the same thing applies to if somebody falls in love, lives with or marries somebody of their own sex. Whose business is it? Their own business, right? It's your own business. And, you know, I like to quote Benito Juarez. I know we just celebrated Mexican Independence Day. He was the first president of Mexico after the independence from Spain. But he had a great saying that I like to quote and I want to share with you. And he said, use this with the people that you know that are kind of stuck in the past like I was. And the quote is, el respeto al derecho ajeno es la paz, okay? Respecting other people's rights is peace. So whether someone has an abortion or not, that's their business, right? If somebody's falls in love again, marries a gay person, that's their business. If somebody's a transgender individual that wants to change or needs to change sex, that's their business. Okay? So let's tell people that. So if we can, that will do away with a lot of the division that we have in our community. And a lot of people vote the wrong way because they're voting on these issues of abortion and on gay marriage or transgender issues. And then we can see if we vote the wrong way, then what happens? You know, we get an administration like the one that we have right now. Yeah, what about it?
And Dolores, before we move any further, I had a secret comadre in the audience that told me that you got a little kickback here, so I'm just going to move that over a little bit. A little better, hopefully.
Sorry.
Thank you, comadre. All right. Right. Women helping women, all part of the story today. Speaking of which, when we speak about the labor movement and social justice initiatives, often women are left out of the story, even if they're leading the work like you were. Can you tell me more about how your work has been impacted by being a woman, or what advice you have specifically for the women in the audience?
Well, we know that as women, we have to take extra steps to step up and to fight for our ideas and to fight for the things that we do, because if not, somebody else will take credit for the work that we do. And that's happened to me in the past, you know. It did happen to me in the past. So we just have to be really, really strong. And I really do believe that we will never have peace in the world until women take power. Okay?
Back it up at you, right?
But I'm going to change that a little bit to say feminists take power, because not all women are feminists. Okay? We know we have some women right now in the Trump administration that are not feminists because they don't believe in immigrants' rights. You know, they don't believe in women's rights, etc., LGBT rights. You know, so I want to use the word feminist because feminists do believe in human rights, and a lot of men are feminists. And many men in this audience are feminists. Okay, let's give another good applause. So both people will never have peace in the world until feminists take power. Okay. put it that way.
I love that. You are at the forefront of many social justice movements while you're also a parent. How did being a parent help prepare you for these journeys or impact your work?
What was that?
How did being a parent impact your work or prepare you for a life of social activism?
Well, I believe that just my believing in justice, I think, in finding out that this is a way that we're able to make changes. And once I learned that, then I didn't want to stop. You might say, attack one thing after the other until we can make the changes that we need to make. But we know that people have to do it together. We can't do it by ourselves. And I like to talk about what recently happened with Jimmy Kimmel. Okay? When the show was canceled, what did people do? They hit the cancel buttons, They canceled the subscriptions to Disney. They canceled the applications to Disneyland. And there were so many millions of people that did that they had to put Jimmy Kimmel back on television. And this to me, it shows people power. Yeah. And people power is the most important thing that we had. But once you learn how to use that people power, and especially when we hit people or hit the corporation in the pocketbook, because that's when they feel the pain. Only in the pocketbook.
That. We've seen you advocate for the LGBTQIA community, even when others didn't do it. What drew you to that?
Well, I believe that all people are human beings. We've got to end discrimination against everybody. God doesn't, make any mistake. All people are human creatures, and they all need to be respected, and regardless of their sex or. So we just have to remember that, and we have to stand up. We have, and I think this is one of my mother's teaching. My mother was a very big devotee of St. Francis, and always standing up for people that need people to stand up for them. This is a responsibility that all of us have, and we just have to remember that.
Mm. You've often said that everyone is a potential activist. In what you say and the way you do this, how could our students help with that aspect to learn that ability, that skill?
Well, I think by being involved is the best way to learn, because once you become involved in activism, and right now we have a really great opportunity because we have an election coming up on November the 4th, and that is for Proposition 50. And we're trying to get to pass that proposition because we know this is a way that we could change the Congress of the United States of America. And the Congress that we have right now, they're the ones that voted $45 billion to give to ICE, for these detentions and the brutality that our undocumented community is bearing right now. That $45 billion could have gone for housing, could have gone for health care, it could have gone for education. And it's the opposite. And in addition to that $45 billion, they've also cut Medicaid. They've cut the disability assistance for disabled people. And they've also cut out food assistance and food stamp. So we need to get rid of the current Congress that we have right now. Tenemos que sacar esos güeyes del Congreso. Now you have to take those guys out of the Congress because they are not doing the right thing. Well, with Proposition 50, we have a chance to do that. And we're trying to guarantee by changing the voting districts that we can elect more liberals, more Democrats to the U.S. Congress. Okay, and this is the way that we can change it. We are getting ready for the elections of 2026, for the elections that will happen next year. But we have to prepare the ground right now. We have to prepare the ground right now for the election so we can have the voting district will be more liberal so we can elect better people to the Congress that will stand up for our rights and not go against us. But we need everybody's help. We need everybody's help to do it.
Given the current political climate, particularly the attacks on immigrants, on Latinos, Latinas, Latinx, women's freedoms, and the trans community, what advice do you have for those of us that are feeling overwhelmed and discouraged about making a difference?
Well, I know that everybody feels really, how shall I say, kind of depressed about what's going on right now. I think none of us ever thought that we would see this day in the United States of America. But the thing is that we don't have that luxury. We know that now is a time that we have to fight. I like to say to people, imagine being in Germany in the 1930s when Hitler was coming to power. You know, what would we have done to save Anne Frank or the other Jewish people that we knew they were going to be murdered by the Nazis? You know, we would have done whatever we could. Well, we're in that space right now because what happened in Nazi Germany then when Hitler came to power. Now we have seen what this looks like in the United States of America, the way that our undocumented community, and not only our undocumented community, because people that are U.S. citizens are also being treated harshly. You know, people that are the legal immigrants in this country are being treated harshly. So we have to do something. We have to stand up. And one of the things that we can do is, like I say, just get involved in voting. Get involved in supporting those families of people who had somebody in their family deported and they need assistance. There are rapid response teams out in every city. So let's help as much as we can. But we know that we have to do something right now. We cannot push the clock back. We've made too much progress to end the legacy of slavery. Because that's what it's about, is ending the legacy of slavery. You know, we want to change all of that and to make the United States of America what it's supposed to be, a land of justice, you know, and freedom for everybody. But it's up to us to keep that, to make that happen. Without us, it will go the other way. So ahora es cuando, it's our time right now. We had people, you know, that went to the military. People, millions of people that have been killed in the wars to save democracy. Well, now it's our turn, but we don't have to use arms. You know, we just have to use our voices and our votes, but we can also save democracy. We can make it happen.
You're, speaking of which, not using arms. You're very well known for your commitment to nonviolence. How do we commit to nonviolence in what feels like an increasingly violent world?
And I think that's really important because the other side, they want us to use violence. They would like to have martial law all over the United States of America. And so we've got to have a lot of discipline to make sure that we do not use violence, you know, with all of these things that are happening right now. I want to thank everybody that's been out there on the marches. You know, we've been out there on the marches on No King's Day and all these other marches to protest what ICE is doing. We have to continue that. Continue the marches, doing the protests, continue the vigils. And of course, we have to remember voting. Voting, again, is the best method of nonviolence that we can use right now. But if we remember that, because if we use violence, and especially talking to the young people, not to go towards violence, because if we do that, that's exactly what they want. They want us to use violence so they could come back, and then we don't know what's going to happen later on, you know, if we do use violence. But we want to prevent that from happening, to make sure that they do not come back, you know, and try to attack our community with more violence than they're doing now. No, got to make sure. And powerful, yeah. I would like to give the example of the Farm Workers Union. You know, as we had 5 martyrs in the union. The first martyr was a young Jewish girl named Nan Friedman. She was killed in Florida in the sugarcane strike that we had there. Then we had a young Muslim, Naji Daipala, a young Arab who was part of the union, one of the leaders, and a deputy sheriff in Kern County killed him. You know, hit him on the head with a flashlight, then dragged him on the curbs until he had a concussion, which he died of. And then we had 3 other martyrs that were killed, Juan de la Cruz, Rufino Contreras, and Rene Lopez. But we didn't respond with violence. Every time they killed one of our martyrs, Caesar made everybody fast for 3 days. Everybody in the union, we did a 3-day fast because we wanted to make sure that we did not respond with violence. So we just have to remember that we have to have a lot of discipline if we're going to win. And we have to remember what Mahatma Gandhi did, that they actually liberated India, but they did it with nonviolence. So same thing with Martin Luther King Jr., in the South, with all of the attacks that they did on all those people that were fighting, just to get the right to vote. They eventually won, but they did it without violence.
Absolutely. And so if voting is our weapon, everyone can turn to the back of their program and register to vote today easily with their QR code, right? If you're not already registered. Dolores says register, right? Yes. We don't always see social justice leaders, particularly women and people of color, get their roses or honors in their lifetime. So what does it mean to you to have others honor you with honorary doctorates? And we heard so many songs with your name in them today, with Dolores Huerta days in April, with having schools named after you and asteroids named after you, and even here at Delta College, a plaza named after you. What does that mean for you?
Well, everything, all of these honors and awards are really also on the backs of so many people that did so much work, Sometimes when you're at the front of the parade, then you get the recognition. But we know that you can't have a march unless you have a lot of other people that are actually marching along with you. So I accept the honors on behalf of the martyrs of the United Farm Workers, on all of the people that have done so much work. And also just kind of hopefully to show people that we could do things, that we can change things. And I think that's what the important thing is about getting honored, is hopefully when people see that, they will think, well, if she can do it, I can do it, no? I think that's the important thing. You can do it, I can do it.
As Sarah said, you've had so many honors. Of all the honors that you have received, which is the most important one to you?
Of all the honors, probably the one from President Obama. Woo! Because the award that President Obama gave me, it was awarded for organizing. And I know sometimes people think, well, organizing, that's not very significant. But when you think about it, and we think of all of the changes that we have made in our country, starting with way back when they had the Depression, and after the Depression, then we got some really good things like Social Security. Workers got the right to organize into unions. You had welfare programs that didn't exist. And then during the 60s and 70s, you had the marches against the Vietnam War. You had the environmental movement, the LGBTQ movement, the women's movement, but the peace movement. All of this came because people organized, okay? And so I think, again, we can change everything when people come together and they take direct action, but they do it all together. This is how we make the changes. And this is what was on my Medal of Freedom that Obama gave me. It was for organizing. President Obama was an organizer, before he became a senator. And he also was an organizer. And so to me, that's why that medal stands for something, because it really means that the power is with the people. And when the people use their power, this is how we make the changes. I think that's why to me it's very, very significant. Let's go.
I have another question. Delta College is a Hispanic serving institution, and we have more females coming to Delta College currently, and in the past as well. Latinas. What can we tell our community to help us get our Latino males here at Delta, what would you advise?
Well, I think we have to start with our educational system, but we've got to start at the elementary school and the middle school and the high school. I mean, I know like in Kern County, there's still a lot of racism in the school system. I'm assuming that here in Stockton Unified, it's the same as, maybe not as bad as Kern. But, we had to sue the Kern High School District because they had expelled 2,100 students of color in 1 year. 2,100. So we sued them, and from 2,100 expulsions, we got it down to 21.
Wow.
21 per year. And so I think we have to do a lot more in the elementary and the middle school and the high school. We know that on our foundation, the Dolores Huerta Foundation, we're also we are focusing on stopping the school-to-prison pipeline. This is what's happening. We have so many prisons in the whole Central Valley of California, the San Joaquin Valley. There have been over how many prisons? 25 prisons. And only one university, the University of Merced, a new university. But this is our tax dollars. The prison budget in California is more money than the high school budget for the state of California. So we have to start looking at that. We have more people in prison in the United States of America than they do in India and China. Now, India and China, their population are billions of people. We only have 300 million. How is it that we can have more people in prison than they do? And who's in prison? It's brown people, black people, and poor white people. This is, again, part of that legacy of slavery. And we have to start looking at that. And it starts at the high school level, at the middle school level, because our kids are not being taught about their own worth. That's why programs like we have here, like Puente, here at the college, we need similar programs like that at the elementary school and the high school level. So, and again, kids need to learn about their own culture. Yeah, and we have to change the narrative. We keep talking about the attack on the immigrants. The indigenous people of the Americas, North America and South America, this is their land, okay? Yeah, because I have a great grandmother, Maria de Jesus, and I came from Spain on my mother's side. Again, on my mother's side, I have a great grandfather, Marshall St. John, that came from England, okay? They are the immigrants. On my dad's side, from Mexico, they were here competing. Okay? On my dad's side, the indigenous people were here to compete. So we have to kind of change our narrative, okay? We can say that the attacks that are happening right now are attacks on people of color. They're attacks on people that are undocumented. And we know that the attacks have not only been on people who are undocumented. Right now, there's a group in Los Angeles of attorneys that have filed a petition with the United Nations because they attacked, arrested, and actually beat up 2 women that were citizens of the United States of America, and one of them was pregnant when they did that. And they've done that, as we know, to many people that have legal status to be here. But again, we have to change our narrative. The attacks are on undocumented people, okay? Not on immigrants, okay? Not on immigrants, and undocumented people of color.
We want to know what you're most proud of and what do you hope your legacy will be?
What do I hope for? Mm-hmm. Well, I think all of us working together, that we're going to be able to create a world that is a lot better. And I think we have to think about this dark period that we're in, but what's it going to look like after this period is over, all right? After this period is over, what are we going to start? Right now, we have to start working for the things that we don't have. And what are the things that we don't have? National health care, for everybody. Daycare, free daycare, okay? Free daycare for everybody. Right now, they have this in New Mexico, which is a poor state. It's not a state like California. They have free daycare for everybody in New Mexico. It happens that we have a woman governor there, a woman governor in New Mexico, Michelle Lujan, you know? And then what else do we want? Free college educations. Yeah, and this is not a pipe dream. I mean, the countries in Europe already have this. You know, England has had universal health care since after World War II, back after the 40s. Can you imagine that? You know, we are the richest country in the world, and we do not have free health care for everybody, and we don't have free college education for everybody. And why not? Because our tax dollars are going to the billionaires, right? They're going to the billionaire. And then they have to think that we have to cartridge more action, more direct action, and then elect people again through the Congress and to the U.S. Senate that are going to give us the health care, the free college education, and to change the tax structures to make sure that all of that money that we pay, you know, every year when we fill out our taxes, that money that we send, that money comes back to us and does not go to a billionaire. Well. And that kind of thing brings back to Proposition 50, you know, because if we can vote yes on Prop 50 and then make sure that the people that we're elected to Congress next year for the election, that we put this on the agenda. This is what we want you to vote for. We want you to vote for universal health care, for free college education, and for free daycare, and the other things that we need. We can make it happen. That's right. We can make it happen.
What advice do you have for young people interested in furthering social justice? What do you hope for the next generation of leaders to carry?
Well, we know we have a lot of work to do out there, and now is our moment in time, you might say, when we are all being called to action at this moment in time. So the main thing we have to do is to participate. You know, Senator Robert Kennedy, the senator, okay, senior, you know, just before he was killed, assassinated, he said, we have responsibilities and obligations to our fellow citizens, okay? We have responsibilities and obligations to our fellow citizens. And that it was just remember that. And so during COVID, we were all taught that we had to protect each other and take care of each other, that we had to wear masks, you know, stay away from each other during that time. And we did it. We did it as a nation. And now we have that same mandate again. And now because we have this sort of fascism and authoritarianism that in our country right now, and we're seeing it. And we are you might say, people of color are the first victims of this, you know. We're seeing what's happening to it. So now it's our turn. We are now being called upon. You've got to stand up. We've got to resist. We've got to protest. We've got to organize. And this is our moment right now. And the main thing is that we have to convince ourselves that we can do it. That, you know, that we have enough a belief, enough commitment, and that we can take the time, just like you took the time to come here today, take the time to talk to our neighbors, talk to our relatives, get 5 people that we know. Will you help on this? Can you spread the word out there about this Proposition 50, okay? So that we can pass it. Because all of us can become organizers. And just all of us here in this room right now, can you imagine? We have an army right here in this room. And you have an army of justice right here in this room. And, you know, the Pablo Neruda, and I'm glad that you made a sign of that. And Pablo Neruda, the poet, who says that they can cut all the flowers, but they can't hold back the spring. They can cut all the flowers, but they can't hold back the spring. So that means that we are the jardineros. We are the gardeners, you know. We are the ones that are we're going to go out there and we're going to sow those seeds of justice and they're going to flourish, you know. We are the ones that are going to make it happen. We don't have to sit back and wait. You know, in the work that we do with the Dolores Huerta Foundation, we go into communities and we organize people and we say, whatever issues you have in your community, you can change them. And they have done some amazing thing. I talked about the lawsuit that we filed and we won. Then in the one community, they didn't have a gymnasium for their school. So they got together and they passed a petition. They registered people to vote. They passed a bond issue and they have a state-of-the-art gymnasium. Another community, woo, yeah. It doesn't have a swimming pool. And the people in South, in one place, their water company was owned by a company from Texas. And they kept raising the water rate. So the people said, let's take over our water company. So again, they got together, they kicked out the Texas Water Company, and they got themselves elected to run them over. They had their own water board now, you know. But the people took the power into their own hand. And that's what we have to remember, that we have the power, that we can do it.
Is there anything else that you want to tell us, that you want to tell the young people?
Well, I was going to mention about them trying to push the clock back, and when they came out and said they had to do away with their diversity, equity, and inclusion policies, and that was trying to roll back, because what those policies meant is that they had to make room. And they had to give a seat at the table for people of color and for women and for LGBT. And so when they came out and said, and Trump came out and said they got to get rid of these policies, and we see it happening at every level. So these are the kind of things that we have to fight back against. So there was a group in the South that said, we're going to fight back. So Target said they're going to get rid of their DEI policies. So what did they say? Let's boycott Target. Yeah. And we met with the CEO of Target, and we told him, okay, Trump doesn't listen to our voices, but he listens to corporate voices, okay? So why don't you guys talk to Trump and tell him what he's doing is wrong? Well, he was afraid. He was afraid. So what happened? People boycotted Target, you know, and their income fell, their shareholders fell, and they lost a lot of money. But, you know, those boycotts still have to continue. And it's not Target. It's Walmart. It's McDonald's. Some companies are painful. Some of these are painful. But we have to kind of make that sacrifice. And think about it. The sacrifice is just a temporary, and it's also something that we can do. You know, it's a sacrifice that we can do. To just withhold our money, just the way that all the people did to get Jimmy Kimmel back, you know, on television. Just withhold our money, shop somewhere else, until we get some of these companies to say, we matter. We matter. You kept so many of us up for so many centuries and decades, okay? We're not going to go that path anymore. We're not going to go back. We're not going to be turned around, you know? Yeah, boycott Amazon too.
Well, you know, we really appreciate all the amazing things that you've told us so far, but we did want to open it up to questions from the audience. You'll notice that there's two stands. So if you want to stand and line up, and we'll take as many questions as we can. Please remember that we're looking to hear from Dolores Huerta. So we welcome your questions maybe instead of your comments, because we really want to hear more from our incredible guests. So we'll go ahead and start with this question.
Okay. My name is Rhonda Sanders, and I am representing the San Joaquin Coalition for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. We sponsored, along with Indivisible Stockton, the No Kings protest here at Delta College. And I don't know if Ms. Dolores Huerta would be able to be with us on October 18th, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., Pacific Avenue side of Delta College. The League of Women Voters will be able to register you to vote, and hope to see all of you there. October 18th, No King's Day.
All right. All right, let's hear some questions for Dolores Huerta. Questions.
All right. Thank you so much for being here, Dolores Huerta. My name is Pedro Ibarra Mejia. I'm an intern with the Office of Assembly Member Rhodesia Ransom, our Assembly Member for District 13, Stockton, Tracy, and Mountain House. And yeah, thank you. And I have a question. What do you have to say to people who say that voting isn't rational, to say that their vote doesn't matter or make a difference, especially here for Proposition 50 on November 4th?
Well, the only thing that matters is voting, please, everybody. The only thing that matters is voting. It's the only game in town. We cannot have a democracy if people do not participate. You know, our Constitution said, we the people, for the people. We the people are the ones that have to elect the people that are going to govern us, that are going to make the laws, that are going to spend our tax dollars. That's why it's so important that we vote. We have to vote and get everybody to vote. This is the only way that we win. I call it, it's like magic. When you organize people and they understand their civic responsibility, it's like having a magic dust. And we can throw it on people and say, this is the way that we change things. This is the way that we change things. And, you know, people don't want, that's why they dumb it down. They don't want us to know that this is the power that we have, that our Constitution gives us. So when somebody says, I don't think voting is important, it's because they don't know. No saben, they don't understand. So we have to make people understand this is our power. Our vote is our power. If we give that away, you know, we have no power. So it's really, really important. Thank you for bringing that up. And yes, Proposition 50, and I don't know if you're signing people up to volunteer, but you want to say that on the mic?
I'm also a campaign staff with the North Valley Labor Federation. So definitely we're going to be canvassing every weekend here in Stockton, Merced, and San Joaquin in general, voting for Proposition 50. So if you guys have any questions about Proposition 50, any doubts or anything like that I can hopefully answer and inform you about, definitely meet me at the end. Thank you.
Muy buenas tardes, Dolores Huerta. It's a pleasure seeing you here at Delta College. My name is Mauricio Diaz. I'm here representing Brown Issues. And my question to you would be is, I'm getting nervous. As a youth leader, what advice do you have for youth organizers like me who are trying to create a long-lasting change and maintain the changes that you guys have created? While balancing school, life, family, and other challenges? And also, how can I encourage more youth in our communities to join the movement and see themselves as leaders too? Thank you.
Well, as I said before, we have a really good opportunity right now to get people involved and to create new leaders out there. But you've got to make it very. You got to put a lot of work into it to recruit other people that come in and then get them to recruit other people that they know. So now is a very perfect opportunity. During the campaign is a time where you can really not only grow your own leadership, but you can get more people involved so that they can also become leaders. Remember that what is a leader? Somebody that does the work. And we're inviting people to come and join us right now. We have this moment in time right now where we can change the Congress of the United States of America, and we can do it with Proposition 50 and then working on the elections next year in 2026. We can make it happen. Sí se puede.
Sí se puede. Thank you so much. That's it.
We'll take your question next while Dolores gets a little sip of water.
Thank you.
Buenas tardes, doña Dolores. Primeramente, es un honor estar aquí en su presencia. My name is Annabelle Relado Camberos. Soy una hija de campesinos inmigrantes. Y tengo dos preguntas. My first question is, I'm also co-founder and CEO of Luz Esperanza for mental health, and my nonprofit organization is to help minority groups, Latinos, Blacks, any minority group que sufren con salud mental. I'm also trying to become a activist for the immigrants in response to everything that's going on. ¿Usted qué proporción me daría para proporcionar en ser una activista?
She's asking, this is what he's asking me. What she can do to get started. What she can do to get started. Yes.
So, is the question about what we can do to get more people involved?
Cause me myself, I'm a how I had explained, I'm CEO and co-founder of Luz Esperanza for Mental Health, and I advocate for the Latino heritage in regards to mental health. But I also want to be activist within the immigrants of like the ICE raids and the injustices that happen within the fields. What would be your input for me to further accomplish that goal, to be an activist?
Well, as I said before, the main thing about becoming an activist is just to get involved in the first place, and a lot of it takes different forms. Right now, with the Proposition 50, we can go out and help pass leaflets out. You can go door-to-door canvassing and talking to people. You can do phone banking, calling people on the telephone. And when you talk about the issues, we know that the mental health issues are really, really important, especially now because the Congress that we now have has cut against a lot of the assistance that we need for our public health issues. So it's really, really crucial right now that we change the Congress so we can get more money, that we know we never have enough money for all of the mental health programs that we need right now, and especially in the Latino community and African American community. So we've got to do a lot more work to make sure that we get more resources for our mental health programs that we need. But that's only going to happen. Again, we have to change the Congress that we have right now, and again, work on Prop 50. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Does it occur to your question now? Remember, we're asking for questions for Dolores Huerta so she can share with the entire group.
Hi, Dolores. My name is Diego Sanchez Castañeda. I'm from here as well. I was a veteran when they terminated DEI, and I saw the committee, the club, which is basically what we have in the military. It's basically a club committee for DEI. It was dismantled, and I saw my transgender colleagues dismissed, separated from the military, despite their qualifications and despite their expertise. It appears that there is a pipeline that young men particularly go down through on the internet. I'm not sure how much you're on the internet, but it's warned that, especially with neo-fascism and Nazism being platformed a lot, even in our administration, how do we counter and help this youth, these young men, from falling down a pipeline that is bred of hatred?
So I think we have to do an awful lot of work with our youth. I think, number one, if they can understand how we got into this situation in the first place, and then making them understand that they can also help organize to help us get out of the situation, because we know that our youth are not given the support that they need. But one thing that we know that we lack for young people is the places where they can recreate, places where they can come together. Because if they come together, right, they're kind of looked on as a quote-unquote gang, et cetera, and so they don't have enough places for recreation. So we have to put a lot more resources into our young people, not only on education, but also on recreation, because recreation is a really important part of youth development. I remember when again, I was a teenager here in Stockton, and I organized a little youth club. We got a storefront, we had a jukebox, we had table tennis that we could play, and the police came and they shut us down. Because they didn't want to see the racially mixed groups that we had. They didn't want to see all these young, beautiful white girls hanging out with Latinos and Black and Filipinos, so they shut us down.
Which is what's beautiful about this city, by the way.
And so I don't know what it looks like right now, but I know in most cities, like even in Bakersfield, California, kids get together at the mall. Well, now they passed a law No teenagers at the mall. Okay, so where they're going to recreate at, where they're going to gather. But that's got to be one of the things that we put on our agenda. We need to get more resources so that our young people can have more places to recreate, more places to learn new things, because we ignore our youth. We don't give them the kind of support that they need. But if we can do that, then we're also creating future leaders for our cities or for our countries. We can make that happen.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Hi. Honestly, thank you so much for your time here. And as a Filipino American with family who has immigrated here and done farm work, I just want to say thank you for the work that you, Cesar Chavez, and Larry Leong have done for paving that way. My name is Theodore Chin. I am a multidisciplinary artist. And my question is more about sort of the reflective state that I am in right now. One of my favorite writers is James Baldwin. And during an interview, he talks about the moral apathy of America. He says that I am terrified of the moral apathy, the death of the heart in the country of America. And I think that quote necessarily it reflects sort of how I feel with trying to gather people to understand or to care about things about social justice, things about race, things about, these issues that are happening in America. And so my question is, how do you create a way to have conversations and to include people in the world of social justice to care and to understand about these issues that are really life or death?
Well, I think everything that we talked about here today, these are conversations that we can have with people. And we don't have to wait for somebody to bring it up. We can bring it up. We can bring them up. And people that we know, Tabula, if we belong to an organization, of course, it always makes it easier. But if you don't, then again, I'm inviting people to come in and help on Prop 50, because on Prop 50 there will be people that will be going door to door, and you'll be talking to people that you don't know. That's a really good way to overcome your apathy or your timidness, is by when you talk to people that you don't know and you talk to them about the issues of justice. So this is, as I said before, it's a great opportunity. And again, I want to invite everybody to participate, because exactly what you're talking about, there's a little way that we can make it happen. And then talking to your own friends that you know and your relatives that you know, and bringing up these issues with them, even though it might be awkward and there might be a little bit of conflict at the beginning. But we can't be afraid of that. We can't be afraid of conflict. We've got to really stand up, and the things that we know, share with them, and things that we've talked about here today. And I think that maybe it will start breaking the ice a little bit and getting them to understand. And even at the beginning, if they don't agree with you, at least you plant the seed, okay? You plant the seed in their brain so they can start thinking about it.
Thank you. Go ahead with your question.
Hola, mucho gusto. My name is Solana Martinez. I am part of the Puente program, and I'm also the club of the Puente for All club. Being a leader in my class and just in other groups, I'd like to ask you, how do you deal with not having enough support, or having people, give you so much backlash for the things that you do? How do you take care of yourself while people are telling you that they don't believe in you?
How do I prepare myself?
How do you deal with people that don't believe you to get support?
I would just say you have to have a lot of patience. And as I said before, you can give them the reasons that we talked about. We know that the things that we really need are education, and especially education and science in terms of education. Like when I talked a little while ago, for people that are racist, we can say to them, science shows that our human race began in Africa. What does that mean? That means that we are all Africans of different shades and colors. And so we can say to the neo-Nazis out there, to the white supremacists, get over it, you're Africans, okay? Just get over it, all right? So, we're talking about science, and then we can kind of have some quotes more than like science quotes, Same thing when we talk about the third gender. Yeah, there is a third gender, there is a third gender, LGBT people. We talk again about women's right to abortion. So again, we can change people's minds. As usually we can do that. And the other thing too, I'm going to throw this out here. I don't know what you all think about this, but a lot of people, they call themselves Christians, okay? They forget that Jesus was a brown guy, okay? And I have a young son who's a poet, his name is Ricardo, and he says, you know what, Mom, we got to change those people that are racist and they're anti the undocumented people and against immigrants. They got to change the way they spell Christian. Instead of CHRISTINS, they got to spell their KKKRISTINS, okay? Because they're not really real Christians because they don't believe in loving, your neighbor, we got to get rid of all that racist stuff,
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Doña Dolores, tengo una pregunta más. You that had worked right next to Cesar Chavez, right? What if Cesar Chavez was still here? What would be his words for the immigrants that are formally going through injustice within our cultural and the ICE and the raids?
I'm sure that Cesar would be feeling the way that all of us do. All of us are feeling the pain, of what's happening to people. And because we know we cannot even imagine that somebody who maybe was somebody's babysitter or a farm worker that was taking the food that these ICE people are eating, and the way that they're being treated and they're being sent to these prisons. And, I'm sure all of you do. I pray every single night for all of the people that have been detained. And we know that it's a horrible time that we're going through, but we just have to do whatever we can and do resistance as we can. And then look forward and start working for the day we know that this is going to end. This is going to end eventually. And I am sure we're going to look forward to the day when we're going to have another amnestia, okay? We're going to have another amnesty, just like we did in 1986. I worked on that bill in Washington. I was there for 4 months, okay, working on that bill for amnesty, and we made it happen. And by the way, people gave Reagan the credit. He just signed the bill. The people that helped us pass that bill was Senator Ted Kennedy, may rest in peace. Schumer, the guy who was now the president of the Senate, another congressman from California, Howard Berman. They're the ones that made that bill happen, okay? And eventually, and we can make that happen again, and it will happen again. So we just have to have that faith, not only in the future, but in ourselves, because we know that we can make it happen. But what do we have to do to make it happen? Vote, right. That's what we have to do. It's going to happen.
Go ahead.
Hola, mucho gusto. Mi nombre es Stephanie Castro y mi pregunta para usted es si alguna vez en su lucha por la justicia se encontró con otras personas latinas o mexicanas o minorías que trataran de convencerla a usted de que usted está mal por pararse enfrente y querer defender a su propia gente. ¿Y cómo le hizo para enfrentar esta situación con las mismas personas de la comunidad y que a veces nos quieren hacer creer que nosotros estamos mal por defender a nuestra gente?
So, what was the question?
I didn't. So I was trying to ask, if in your journey in for the fighting for the social justice, have you ever encountered any other people that are also Mexican or Latinos trying to convince you that you were wrong for doing what you're doing and trying to stand up for your people? And how did you deal with it?
People were against you. Other Latinos were against you when you were speaking up.
Well, at the beginning, when I first left Stockton to go to Delano, and I had 7 children, I was in the middle of a divorce. I was going to quit being a teacher to go to Delano to organize farm workers with no money. My family thought I was crazy. Many of them stopped talking to me. You know, they told me your kids are going to go to be drug addicts or drug dealers or whatever. My oldest son is a doctor, medical doctor. They have attorneys and teachers and nurses, you know. All of my kids grew up great, thank you, even though they grew up in poverty. You know, people were very much against what I was doing, but I had faith in myself and faith in what I was doing, so I just ignored them. And sometimes people that are against you at the very beginning, but then they turn out to be your best friends later on. So we just have to kind of ignore them, kind of pray for them, you know, even the people that don't agree with us right now on the issues that we're going through, but just, you know, try to educate them as much as we can and then not hold it against them, okay? We can have a little bit of resentment because we're human beings, right? Podemos sentir, you know, but we know, as long as we know that we're doing the right thing and we have faith in what we're doing, and eventually they'll come around. Eventually they will come around. And if they don't, well, we'll just continue to hope that they will change their minds later on.
Muchas gracias.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Eva, we have time for just a few more questions, so go ahead.
Hello, my name is Julio Manuel Lopez. I am actually both a high school and college student, and I'm supposed to be in my history class right now. But Mr. Van Huysen, if you're hearing this, please forgive me. But I have a question for you. I want to be the first Mexican-American president of the United States. And I have been told that I can't do it because of my skin color and that because I speak Spanish. What advice do you give to people like me, young leaders around the United States who just want to get into politics and help people in this country?
So what's the question at that?
What is it? What if he wants to just be a good, citizen and vote?
He wants to be the next.
Well, that's what.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, I don't know, how do you feel about having a Puerto Rican president like AOC?
I'm feeling both, honestly.
How about having a female president? Okay. And she might be Puerto Rican instead of Mexican.
It could be both.
No, I think, I would just say get involved, do your homework, do your footwork, because that way you will not only earn, but you will also learn, okay, what you have to do when you become president, okay?
Okay, thank you.
We got just a few more minutes together, so go ahead and ask your question.
Man, that guy wants to be the president. It's so cool. Good afternoon, Doña Huerta. As someone that's accomplished so much in their life, I wanted to ask you, what's like an achievement that many people don't recognize you for, basically? Like, what achievement are you most proudest of that, like, most people don't really talk about?
Well, I think a lot of people know about my work with United Farm Workers. They don't know a lot of the work that we're doing with the Dolores Huerta Foundation, which are the examples that I showed you, where we organize people in their community to take on the issues in their communities and solve them so that they become the leaders. And this is exactly what Fred Ross taught us. It's not so, to be a leader the idea is to get other people to recognize their own leadership. This is what being a leader is. It's representation, like I'm doing here right now, is part of it. But the main thing is to organize other people and get them to do the work and get them to become leaders. That's what the true leadership is, lifting up other people, it's not so much about lifting up yourself, but lifting up other people and getting them involved and making them strong. That to me is what a leader is.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you, Brianne.
This is going to be our last question, so go ahead.
Hi, Mrs. Huerta. Nice to meet you. My name is Andrea Valtodano, and I am the editor-in-chief of Delta Student Newspaper. We're a First Amendment newspaper. And I want to ask you because as journalists, we know that speaking truth to power often comes with risks. So I want to ask you if throughout your decades of activism, was there ever a moment where you or your compañeros were afraid about raising your voices? And if so, what helped you push through and keep going?
Well, there have been awkward moments when it was kind of maybe I knew if I raised my voice, I was going to embarrass somebody. I'm going to say this as a woman, okay? In the farm workers movement, I was the only woman on the board. And so sometimes I would have conflicts with some of the guys, especially when they took credit for my work, okay? Yeah. And one time, one of our vice presidents got up and made this beautiful speech about all of the work that he had done in New York City. Well, I had the good fortune to speak up after him, and I said to him, "You were never in New York City, okay? Everything that you just took credit for is the work that I did." And so he was very upset with me, but he never did it again, okay? And I know that, again, it's an awkward moment for a woman to do that, but sometimes we have to do that even if it makes somebody else look bad, okay? So that I would just say sometimes as women, and then sometimes we have to correct people when they make a statement that is racist, you know, or sexist, and sometimes we have to do it publicly, but maybe not. Sometimes we just take them to the side. Hey, you know the statement that you just made right now? That is a racist statement, okay? Or that is a sexist statement. So we have to try to educate people in the work that we do, and it's always a little difficult to do that, but that's what we have to have the courage to be able to do that. And even with our politicians, you know, when I work to get you elected, but you know what, you're doing the wrong thing, I got to call you out on that, okay? So that's our responsibility. Thank you.
So thank you so much for all the questions. I was hoping that before you go, you could lead us in a chant.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, let's do it.
All right, let's do that. So let's all stand up, everybody. Let's all stand up. And we're going to do the chant. We're going to do the chant.
You want to present
Pop the shirt. Oh, I know. Look at Betsy. Oh my God, look at that.
This shirt.
Oh, beautiful. All right, that's beautiful. Okay, this is si se puede on it here.
Yes.
And it's counted.
It's from Western Ranch High School.
All right, look, thank you. Okay, so we're going to do the chant, and again, begging you again, help us on Proposition 50. Recruit your friends, your relatives, your neighbors to get out there and vote yes on Prop 50. No. So now I'm going to ask you all the questions. I know you know the answer, but I want you to shout it so loud so all of the haters can hear us, okay? All of the wayest out there can hear us. Okay, let's go. So I'm going to ask you who's got the power. I want you to shout really loud, "We've got the power." And I'm going to ask you what kind of power. And you're going to say people power, right? Okay, let's go. Who's got the power? What kind of power? People power. Are we going to use our people power to change the Congress to vote yes on Proposition 50? What do we say? ¿Se puede? ¿Se puede? Let's do it all together. Let's go. Sí. Gracias. Thank you, Dolores. Thank you, God. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Please proceed to the exits. There's lots of great resources for you there. Thank you.